Hit me.
From Studio A in Arcata, behind the redwood curtain, it's time for...
Succotash.
Succotash Clips, the original comedy soundcast featuring snippets from comedy...
Soundcasts.
And here's your host from up the coast, practically unknown outside of comedy soundcasting, comedy soundcast soundcaster, Tyson Saner.
Saluton, it is I, Tyson Saner, your audio tour guide, or something like that. Come with me, won't you, as we explore assorted points of interest in Soundcastland for the next hour or so. I've got some good ones for you. There's clips from Launch Left, Raised by TV, Whiting Wongs, Doughboys, Wife of the Party, and The Movie Court. In addition, we have a single shot of raging moderate Will Durst's Burst to Durst, a classic Henderson's Pants ad, and a couple of shoutouts for good measure. It's a pretty decent lineup, so let's get cracking. Our first offering tonight is the soundcast from Starburns Audio, Launch Left, with hosts Rain, Joan of Arc Phoenix, and Moon Zappa. They kicked off their first episode on October 31st, 2017, and have been putting out content since then. So if you go to starburns.audio/podcast/launch left, the description on the page will read, Rain, Joan of Arc Phoenix, and Moon Zappa interview extraordinary minds, mavericks, and pioneers in their unique fields. As two women from artistically uncompromising families, Rain and Moon celebrate non-conformists who achieve success by doing it their way and support, quote, left of center, unquote, emerging artists. That is to say, the show features established musicians promoting or curating less mainstream musicians. Their guests are referred to as curators, and in this clip from December 26th of 2017, the curator is none other than Moon Zappa's brother, Dweezil Zappa, who gives a humorous lesson in tritones.
And what did you bring today? What guitar is that?
This one's a custom-made one. A friend of mine, he has a company called Echo Park Guitars, and he used to be located out here in Los Angeles in the Echo Park area, but he moved to Detroit. And this particular guitar is made out of Carina, which is not the normal wood for this style of guitar. So it's he had old stock Carina, and he put this nice guitar together. It's got a really cool sound to it, and it's fun to play. So I've been working it into things and gonna bring it on the road as well.
Should we have him play something right away? A little something?
Sure. Play something. I don't have any prepared songs for you, but I can. No, but I could play.
Just show off some of your licks.
Oh, show off some licks.
Just show off.
Well, here's one thing. Here's like a little.
I can always play a G chord if you want. Or something.
Yeah, here's a little mini music lesson that I'm sure you guys will be able to get the clearance for, because it'll turn into something you'll see in a moment. But ultimately, there's three things people hate when they hear music. There's three tonalities that are generally despised, and this one, even since medieval times, people have hated this sound right here. It's the sound of a tritone, which is generally regarded as the worst sounding possibility for two notes to coexist. And so that one sound right there is probably
you'd rather be on the rack than hear that sound.
I feel like that's my next record.
Yeah, well, it can be very useful in some cases, but generally this is just not well liked. It's sort of a grating sound. All right, so here's another one. This is just two notes that are side by side, basically a half step apart. So it would be this and then this note together, but played at the same time. That doesn't usually make people feel safe or comfortable. So
That's so weird. I wanted to curl up with the book when I heard that.
Yeah. And so another one is very close to that one. It's just that you have a little more space between the notes. So you have, but together. So that's more like something you would hear like in Chopsticks. Right? So, but those three sounds, this and this, if you put them all together in this order, then it sounds good.
Interesting.
Wow, Zappa Twilight
It's
Zone.
all the three worst possible sounds put together in one song, which is very humorous.
And it's such a memorable song. It's unmistakable.
Can anyone do Rod Sterling's voice now after?
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
So
He's really...
That was Moon doing that.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that there is a sense of humor in music in ways that maybe people don't realize. So that right there, the composer probably was thinking, what would be hilarious? Let's just take the worst sounds possible and make it the theme song for this show. Like everything that makes you as uncomfortable as possible.
Who was that composer?
I don't
Anyone know?
Now
I'm curious to see what else he did.
I'm not sure who
or she.
Yeah. It's possible it was the same guy that did the music to Psycho, which I think was Bernard Herrmann.
How does that go? Oh, no, we can't do that.
Well,
or
that
I Dream of
basically-
Jeannie.
That just had the same kind of thing where it's like,
Right. Right.
whenever there's the
It
knife.
was Bernard, by the way.
Yeah.
According to Brendan in the control room, he's put up a note.
Bernard Sherman or Herman, he did Twilight Zone as well.
Interesting.
That's pretty sweet.
Now, there's quite a bit more in that interview, both of musical demonstrations and also there's a kind of an impromptu jam session that unfolds. You can listen to more of Launch Left on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbay, and iHeartRadio. And of course, you can go to their home site on Starburns Audio at starburns.audio/podcasts/Launch Left. Among my favorite improvisers that I hear on Soundcasts, such as Scott Aukerman's Comedy Bang Bang and Matt Besser's Improv for Humans, are Lauren Lapkus and John Gabris. They have a podcast together. It's called Raised by TV. The first episode debuted on October 8th, 2017. And if you read the description on Art19 or Earwolf, you'll learn, when John Gabris and Lauren Lapkus were growing up, they watched a lot of TV. Like, a lot of TV. Now, adults with minds hopelessly warped by television, they've come together to indulge their shared obsession. On Raised by TV, John and Lauren revisit the best and worst TV of the late 80s and early 90s. Everything from game shows and TGIF to Oprah and cereal commercials. This clip is from episode 8 from December 27, 2017, from an episode called Sketch Comedy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Arthur, Belky, Urkel, Nickelodeon. They gotta be raised by TV. Mom said don't be raised by TV. 'Cause we gotta be raised by TV. To put it simply, they gotta be raised by TV.
Barbecue sauce.
Welcome to Raised by TV.
I'm John Gabris.
And I'm Lauren Lapkus.
Oh, the favorite part of my week or day, depending on what we're doing.
Yes, I'm so excited to be back in the studio with you.
Let's just get back in the studio and just riff, sweetheart.
Let's just riff, no prep. But we do have a topic, and it is sketch comedy.
I feel weird doing this episode about sketch
I know.
comedy, but before we were sketch comics, we were sketch comedy fans.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like you have to pay homage to that part of life. So
you have to pay homage, as I pronounce both of those.
Thank you. That did sound way better. But yeah, I mean, obviously we grew up watching a ton of that shit and made us want to do this, right?
Of course. I feel like you don't get through an interview with Mark Maron or any other comedy without saying, like, I stayed up late watching SNL.
I know.
And I'm beginning to think that, 75% of the world did that, even
right.
with it, but 95% of comedians did that.
So they act like it's their special thing they did, but it was like, yeah, everyone was doing that.
Yeah, I think like 8 of my closest friends stayed up to watch SNL too, and I'm the only one that's a comedian out of them.
Yeah, I do think in my group of friends, I was, like in elementary school, I was kind of the only one doing it because I knew I had, or of my friends, because I had a little like reference base that they didn't have really.
And what was that?
Like just from SNL, like characters and stuff.
Okay.
I was obsessed with certain people and would do like bits that I liked, and it was yeah. People didn't really know it. I mean, they liked what I was doing. It was like I had fun, but it was never anyone being like, "Oh yeah, remember that on this part." And
you can kind of like steal it though.
Totally. Yeah.
You're like superstar.
Yeah, of
and
course.
they're all like, "Oh,
like,
Lapkus is fucking hysterical."
I'm sure I was casting a lot of it off as my own. So
I mean, that's how like every comedian. Like when I was 5, I was doing like Eddie Murphy routines.
Yeah.
Because I was like allowed to watch, as we've discussed, R-rated shit.
Oh my God! If I had a kid and they were doing that, I'd be so happy.
Yeah,
like doing Eddie Murphy impressions would kill me.
Luckily, I wasn't doing "What If Mr. T Was a F***it," which is the title of a premise on his album.
Oh my God!
It's listed as a track title. Yeah. A lot of his stuff doesn't hold up.
I had never seen Delirious, and I still haven't seen it. And in high school, this guy that I liked invited me over to his house to watch Delirious, and then I never went because he was kind of intimidating to me. But
and so he never got a chance to show you his purple leather jumpsuit, which, by the way, is not innuendo. I meant to like. No. I always forget he wears purple in one and red in the other.
No, I think he's red and Delirious. I think.
And raw is purple.
Yeah, maybe I'm mixing it up. But anyways, I turned it on recently, and it was like every joke was the most offensive, gay bashing sort of thing.
You can get AIDS on your lip.
Yeah, it was fucking ridiculous. I mean,
but then there's all the shit about Umfufu and I'm sorry, not Umfufu. Aguni Gugu. Umfufu is raw, and then also GI Joe swimming underwater, going to find out where the bubbles came from. It's a whole routine about him and his brother farting. Yeah, and he let out a fart in the bathtub. Like, anywhere I should not be doing a problematic impression, but that's what Eddie Murphy sounds like.
No, that's exactly how he sounds.
I'm not doing every black person alive.
Now it's getting weird.
Yeah, now it's getting weird because now I'm doing every black person alive.
Well, wait. On this same, I feel like we naturally are going to end up talking about stand-up as well because I watched so much stand-up growing up and like every premium blend and all of that stuff. Any stand-up special I could get my hands on reruns.
Yeah, it's hard not to talk about stand-up because like that's what I would really memorize. Like I remember when I saw Dana Carvey's Critics' Choice for the first time, I memorized that entire stand-up.
And now, were you seeking him out? Were you seeking him out because of SNL, or did you?
Yes, I think so because I think Wayne's World. I'm trying to figure out the time. I have no idea what the timeline of everything is because even if it came out in that order, I didn't see it necessarily.
But you know what's so weird? I don't think of him as being Garth. I think of that as like Mike Myers thing, and then I'm like, Turtle is fucking Dana Carvey.
Oh yeah, Dana Carvey. His best movie is Pistachio Disguising and fucking Master of Disguise.
I mean, he was very funny on SNL. I loved Church Lady. I loved that. There were a bunch of things. Chop and broccoli.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know what that was.
That's from he does that in Critics' Choice in the stand-up.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen that.
Rockers can make anything cool.
Yeah.
He also does a 20-minute bit about the OJ trial, and it's fucking powerful
and timeless.
It's powerful.
It's moving.
It's moving and powerful and emotional.
Is it good?
It's really good.
The Soundcast season finale posted on January 10th, 2018, and on March 12th at 12 p.m., they announced Season 2 of Raised by TV would begin April 11th of 2018. If you like what you heard, all past episodes can currently be found at Earwolf, Art19, and Stitcher. And if you want to reach out to them, you can write them at raisedbytvpod@gmail.com. The show on Twitter is RBTVPOD, or RBTVPod. Lauren Lapkus can be reached at Lauren Lapkus, LAUREN, and John Gabrus at Gabrus, GABRUS. Next up, Whiting Bongs, from hosts Jessica Gao and Dan Harmon, and Starburns Media. The iTunes description reads as follows. An honest conversation about race and writing between two people who think very highly of themselves. Dan Harmon and Jessica Gao know they won't solve racism in Hollywood, but they still like to talk about it, sometimes with guests. Now, according to IMDb, quote, Jessica Gao is a writer and art director known for Silicon Valley, Rick and Morty, and Lab Rats. On her Twitter page under the handle @ChairmanGao, Jessica Gao's information reads, OK Writer, Corporate, Rick and Morty, Bajillion Dollar Properties, Silicon Valley, Robot Chicken, and podcast Whiting Wongs. The first episode debuted on October 18th, 2017 on iTunes. I've clipped episode 4 titled, quote, They Invented Those Finger Traps from November 2nd, 2017 because it is the first episode that was recorded after people had had the chance to listen and respond to the first 3 episodes.
So why don't we turn it over? Do you want to talk about like your experience like after the podcast dropped, like poking around the internet?
I think was very, very hesitant about doing this, but I did go look on the Reddit thread after. Well, my boyfriend was on it, and he told me to look at it, and it was nice because I was pleasantly surprised because even though people were disagreeing with me and each other, like I think for the most part everyone was at least offering thoughtful responses. And even if I disagree with what they're saying, like no one's out and out just being a dick. Like they have whatever reasons they have for disagreeing with each other. And I feel like that's our best case scenario, is getting people to talk about this stuff more. One recurring sentiment in the emails has been people to have kind of taken issue with you saying that millennials don't want to talk about race.
Right.
Because a lot of people were like, I'm a millennial and my friends and I all talk about race.
That's exactly what I saw right away. It's like if you looked at 50 things, and I don't know that you did, and I looked at one thing, that's like, it's interesting to hear you say that's prevalent, because I looked at one thing, saw that, and like closed my laptop because it was an immediate conversation about how wrong I was. But but hey, that is great news. I love being wrong about that. And the truth is, if you listen to that episode or these 3 episodes, I completely contradict myself immediately. Like it's a potpourri of like all these like weird opinions I've been forming over 10 years about millennials. Like, what does millennial mean? It means young person. Now it means old person. But I'm even older, and it means younger old person. And it just means like, it's like the word hipster. It's like whatever. So I kind of what I really meant. Like, let's remove the word millennial from it. What I should have said was, hey, like we have gotten this far by like having this sort of like party foul kind of like boundary around these conversations, where it's such a social faux pas to acknowledge race. It automatically puts you on the lowest road, and it doesn't necessarily put every dumb person on a higher road. It just affords you could be the most racist person in the room in a way that I would consider genuinely racist, i.e., having real, actual, unconscious, like, thoughts that need to be unpacked about the inferiority of people who are different from you. And you could easily learn or accidentally stumble into, through fear, a socially acceptable behavior that will get you through the hippest party, the smartest panel. You won't be exposed, as a person who needs to learn more shit if you just keep your mouth shut. Whereas if you talk about stuff and ask questions and reach out, you're
at risk.
Your chance of getting crucified increase like by orders of magnitude.
Yeah, you're basically doing the opposite of that by having this podcast, which is you're willing to be the lightning rod in the pursuit of just advancing the conversation.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry, millennials, if you sit around and talk about nothing but race, that's great. And I you're right, I'm wrong. So that's a great example. We whited that wrong.
Well, I think that I think that this is like the wokest generation, but here's the thing. It's like, I also think this is a very, very divided generation. And I think that there are like super woke millennials, and I think there are millennials who don't want to talk about race, or just like outwardly are so sick of what they think of as PC culture that they're going the opposite way, which is like, I want to say whatever the fuck I want, and I don't care who it offends, because I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want regardless of how it affects other people, because I'm not a decent human being. And I think another thing is that people are so afraid to be called racist. Like, white people act like being called racist is worse than being a victim of racism.
Yeah.
And I think that the problem is that people don't understand. And somebody wrote in that, and I think this is such a great way to phrase it, which is that racism is a spectrum. And it's not just either you're a good person, you're a good progressive liberal person, or you're KKK. Mm-hmm. Like, there's all this middle ground in between that everybody falls under.
Yeah, there's a million ways to be racist.
Yeah.
It's that was kind of the idea of the Pierce character on Community, by the way, was that he was a liberal, like a lot of baby boomers who were at Woodstock and things and loved the Beatles and followed them through their sitar phase, and therefore understand the idea that equality is supposed to be a thing, but that make their their children cringe because in the pursuit of their definition of equality, they're saying really embarrassing things and revealing that they still have separate sets of rules for precious black people who they desperately want to help and see set free.
You can find more episodes on iTunes and Podbay. If you are on iTunes and you click the website link for the show, you'll be taken to their site on Acast, which is at www.acast.com/whitingwongs. Dan Harmon is on Twitter under @DanHarmon, DanHarmon. Jessica Gao is @ChairmanGao, ChairmanGao. And the Soundcast can be reached at Whitingwongs, which is WHITINGWONGS. Now it's time for our burst of Durst. This one is titled Midterm Malfunctions, in which our intrepid correspondent wants to tamp down the Democrats and their noisemakers, but that's redundant, isn't it?
Hey guys, Will Durst here with a few choice words about how the Democrats might want to postpone the celebrations. Yeah, sure, they've had encouraging results in a few special elections and some early midterm primaries, but they are not to be trusted. Donald Trump's approval rating could sink lower than the sewer hose on a submarine, and Democrats still couldn't stir the electorate with a crowbar the size of Idaho. Do not be deceived into thinking that reclaiming the House of Representatives this November is a Kevin Durant fast break slam dunk, because if anybody can blow a lead this late in the game, it's them. They are the kings of accidentally rolling over on the self-destruct button. No matter when, who, how, why, or where, they possess the uncanny ability to pluck defeat from the jaws of victory. Many ways of screwing up the midterms are within their grasp, and the following are not just the tip of the iceberg, but the crust on the nostrils of the dead elephant seal curled around the tip of the iceberg. How the Democrats could screw up the midterms. Lousy candidates, and don't forget, their bench is full of them. Horrible timing. These folks would wear a Yankees hat, the Fenway. The entire party pretending to be Republicans with a heart. Hillary Clinton writes another book. Barbra Streisand tries to help. Anthony Weiner gets an early release from prison. 2 words. Bernie freaking Sanders. The Democrats' insistence on eating their own. Does the term Al Franken have any meaning here? Nancy Pelosi talks for another 8 hours straight, causing people to remember, hey, she's a Democrat, isn't she? And finally, an inability to stop worrying about the trivial stuff. No more internal fights over whether the newest presidential rebuke should be printed with green or blue ink. For Succotash, the comedy soundcast, I'm Will Durst. I am.
My thanks again this week to Will Durst. If you go to willdurst.com, you'll see an impressive website laid out like a newspaper with the title The Will Durst Journal, which has all his dates and deets for Durst Case Scenario Midterm Madness, which you can see live as of March 2018 at The Marsh at 1062 Valencia, San Francisco, California. And you can call the theater for more information, area code 415-826-5750, or visit themarsh.org. That's THEMARSH.org. And of course, you can contact Mr. Durst on Twitter @Will Durst, and Mr. Durst has a fan page on Facebook. Alrighty, now back into the clippage. Here's a soundcast I first heard of when its hosts were featured on Harmontown recently. This clip requires a little extra setup, so let me give you the rundown. On its iTunes description, it says, the podcast about chain restaurants. Comedians Mike Mitchell and Nick Weiger review fast food / sit-down chains and generally argue about food / everything. Nick Weiger's mini bio on IMDb states, Nick Weiger is a writer and actor known for NTSF, SD, SUV, Matthew Perry's Testimony, Part 2, and A Christmas Story, Only I Didn't Say Fudge, from 2013. Also from IMDb, Mike Mitchell's bio describes him as, quote, an actor and writer known for The Birthday Boys, Love, and Michael Bolton's Big Sexy Valentine's Day Special. Guest of this episode, Bobby Lee, who is credited with appearing on 126 episodes of the long-running sketch comedy show Mad TV from 2001 to 2009, has also appeared in the series Love. This presentation is from an episode dated February 2nd, 2017, called Taco Bell 3 with Bobby Lee. I'm going to deviate slightly from the norm in terms of presentation for this next bit of soundcastery. That is to say, in this case, I felt that an extra bit of creative plating, if you will, might serve the content of the soundcast better. So in the episode description, it says, the boys are back at Taco Bell again. Bobby Lee, Mad TV, Tiger Belly Podcast, who appears with Mitch on Netflix's Love, joins for the most derailed, off-format episode yet. Bobby tells Weicker and Mitch to abandon the premise of their show and advises Mitch on his love life. So the Soundcast opens with this amazing essay.
China's Sorrow, the Scourge of the Sons of Han. These are the nicknames of Huan He, known in English as the Yellow River. The second longest river in Asia, its ominous alternate nomenclature is because of its historically frequent fatal floods. Yet it's also the equivalent of the Fertile Crescent of ancient Chinese civilization, and in 5000 BCE, the Neolithic Yangshao people flourished by its shores. Pioneering many innovations in agriculture and construction, the Yangshao were also avid at pottery, and in the 3rd millennium BCE, built the first known instances of a round, hollow instrument with a clapper inside that struck a musical note when rung. Centuries later, in 500 CE, on the other side of the world, the Nahua people split off from the Uto-Aztecans and migrated to settle in an area now known as Central America. By the 13th century, members of the Nahua had organized into the Aztec Empire, and one of their staple foods was a flatbread made of ground, pressed maize that they called Tlaxcali. The Aztecs and nearby indigenous people took to filling the flat corn cakes with fish, and by the time Spanish colonials arrived, it was an established local cuisine. The infamous Cortez was said to have indulged in a feast of the dish. Spanish colonials would redub Tlaxcali as tortillas, after the similarly shaped Spanish-style egg dishes of the same name. And they had a different name altogether for the dish that consisted of a tortilla stuffed with meat. In the mid-20th century CE, an American World War II veteran combined these two items of disparate century and continent, the tolling chime, the protein-filled corn cake, to form the branding of his restaurant, which would go on to gain global cultural influence of its own. This week on Doughboys, we return, once again, to Taco Bell.
Going forward a bit in time, the overall mood of the episode presents itself.
Bobby, so you're wearing I have to comment on something. I wasn't going to talk about this, but you took off this very cool leather jacket, and you've got a Metallica Ride the Lightning shirt.
Yes.
Are you a Metallica fan?
I like the first 3 albums. I like Kill 'Em All. I like Ride the Lightning. I like Master of Puppets.
Oh, that's
cool. And then after that, I'm just like done.
You're not on board with And Justice for All?
It's a couple of songs in there I like, but yeah, I mean,
Whiskey
it's a good
in
album.
The Jar?
Sure. Yeah, okay.
That's a fun one.
But I'm more of a CBGB guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Television and Talking Heads and all those like Ramones. I like that New York scene. I mean, I started with the Velvet Underground, and then like people don't know that about me because I'm in a mainstream. I do mainstream comedy. I'm not like cool like you guys, alternative.
No. Cool
that's
being
what
a euphemism for unsuccessful here.
No, but that's what it is.
Hey, with the birthday, when the Birthday Boys were first pitching our show around, we were working with this guy Dick Blasucci, who was a great guy.
I shit on his in his office. Did you know that?
No. I did not know that, but I remember him only speaking highly of you. And
I love him, but I shit in his office.
Like in his office bathroom, or
no,
in his office
in the floor.
Why did you do that?
Well, 2 reasons.
Okay.
Number 1, he lied to me.
Oh no.
Yeah,
he told you it was a bathroom?
No. I knew that Jackie Chan was going to be in Mad TV, so I wrote him a letter. I was new on the show, and I go, please, can I don't even have to have a line. Can I just be an extra? And I wrote him a letter. I've never written a letter before, so that's a big deal for me.
Right.
I barely know how to write. So then I put it on his desk, and then I was watching the show months later, and he was on it, and I wasn't in it.
Oh, man.
And so one day, I walked into his office, and Nicole Parker and Ike Barinholtz, they were writing a sketch, and Ike goes, "Stick this Tums in your butthole."
Stick a Tums in your butthole?
Yeah, because there's like a little roll of Tums.
Okay.
So I normally would go, because if I'm not mad at Dick, I'd be like, nah, that's rude. But then I went, oh, okay. And then so I stuck it in, and then something surprising happened. It foamed.
Really?
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, it foamed like a mad dog, and it made a noise
like externally. You could see the foam or just feel it.
Yeah, you can feel it and see it.
Wow.
Yeah, and now everyone's laughing. Like I'm laughing, tears coming down my eyes. Nicole and I, they're laughing, and then I try to fart out the Tums because there was like 3 of them in there, and they had dissolved to like little pellets. But then, so those 3 came out, and then a shit came out. Right. And obviously, and then it was on the ground. Yeah. And then now we can't breathe because it's the funniest thing,
Oh, man.
And then he walks in, and he sees it all. And he goes, clean it up. And then he walks out.
Wow.
I didn't get in trouble or anything. Yeah, so.
But it's kind of a humorless response, it sounds like.
It's not cool to poop in somebody's office.
Right.
Approximately an hour elapses before Taco Bell is discussed at any great length. Then there's essentially another hour to listen to after that. And it's all very entertaining. So if you want to check out this entire episode of Doughboys to see how it shakes out, or any other episode of the Soundcast, you can visit doughboys.libsyn.com. You can go to iTunes, Stitcher, or Podbay. You can go to Doughboys Podcast on Facebook. And you can go to doughboys.wikia.com for a wiki on the podcast. A wiki for a podcast. How do we get one of those?
This portion of Succotash is brought to you by Henderson's Breakaway Trousers. For the first time available to the public, Henderson's Breakaway Trousers are the ideal solution for you, whether you are a man suffering from weak bladder syndrome or premature ejaculation. How many times have you been running late for that important business meeting only to find that your bratty bladder doesn't care about snaps, buttons, zippers, and belts? And who hasn't been on that date of a lifetime with that hottie that everyone wants to bang? You'd like to make a good showing, but gosh darn it, those pesky spermatozoa want out, and they want out now. Friends, when you're sporting a pair of Henderson's Breakaway Trousers, you've got the confidence to know that you'll be down to nothing in no time at all. And before you can say, Jack Robinson, it's bombs away, and you're good to go. Originally designed for the military, the theater, and jails, Henderson's Breakaway Trousers are available online and wherever fine pants are sold. Available soon in women's styles, too. That's Henderson Breakaway Trousers. And now back to more of Succotash.
Henderson's Breakaway Trousers. Man, I wish I had a pair on right now. I really could use them.
And, of course, at the tail end of that, there was the voice of none other than our executive producer, Mark Hershon. Those Henderson's Pants ads are part of what drew me to Succotash originally as a listener of what was a fine program long before I got involved. Next Soundcast up is Wife of the Party podcast. Now, if you listen to comedian Bert Kreischer's Soundcast Bertcast on the All Things Comedy Network, you might have heard his wife, Leanne Kreischer, appear as a guest in some of the episodes. On January 31st, 2018, Leanne's very own Soundcast dropped on iTunes, and the description of the show overall reads as follows. Quote, Wife of the Party, the Leanne Kreischer podcast. Wife of comedian Bert Kreischer talks to friends in the man cave about marriage, family, and what it's like to be married to the life of the party. Now, this clip is from episode 3, posted on February 15th of 2018. And in the description of the episode, it reads, I sit down with my friends, Kathy, Tracy, and Margaret, to talk about my dates with Narada, what a pain applying to school is, what it is like to have kids in 8th grade, having the drug talk, and dealing with moody teenagers.
What do you think is the number one stress for your daughters right now at 13? What do you think is the number one thing that stresses them out?
Oh, gosh. Time, maybe homework,
time management.
Yeah,
too much.
Those damn cell phones.
I think for Georgia, it's not feeling like every minute is scheduled, even though it's really not. I think she feels that way. It makes her feel like she doesn't have any relaxed time, even though she does. Like, she writes in a journal all the time, but I think she feels like we're just constantly on this hamster wheel of life, and I think that's her number one stress. What do you think is their challenge at school? Any challenges they have at school?
Navigating
I think girls, friendships. I think they're trying to figure all that out.
The social aspects.
Yeah.
I think we're all pretty lucky that, our girls have good friends.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate for that. That's another thing I'm really bummed about the whole high school situation. And that on one hand, we should be fortunate that we have so many choices. But the girls will probably all go to different high schools.
Yeah, they will.
And then we have to start this social roller coaster over again.
Yeah. Yeah, because our girls, there's like a little group of girls that are in show choir. And those show choir girls they seem to be helping each other a lot with homework. They're like networking. What do you have for this answer on this question? And did you finish the science lab? When is it due? And they really support each other. They FaceTime each other and do homework together, and that's gone when we go to high school. I'm like, what a bummer.
Yeah, but they'll find other kids to do that with. They will.
It is cool that they have it. It'd be nice if it would just continue on. They just keep on going.
What about the other stress at school, like the boy stress? And I know that there was recently a kid expelled from school.
Yeah, I heard about
for
that.
Doing things that he shouldn't have been doing.
I didn't know. I didn't hear that.
I heard about it last night.
What did he do?
He was caught vaping, I believe.
Oh. Well, they also caught kids smoking
pot.
They didn't kick them out.
Smoking cigarettes.
I think he's a repeat offender.
Oh, I see.
I think he's a little more than just smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I think for this particular kid,
it's a kid who needs a little more help.
Do you need
with
know
direction?
His name? Don't say
he may
here,
need a parent.
No, do you know who
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the problem. Is that parents aren't
active.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I don't know him personally, but I feel like if that's happening, there's a disconnect somewhere.
Yeah,
vaping though, it's not like the end of the world, but who knows what else he had.
Well, yeah, and who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know him personally. I don't know his parents, but
no. I mean, when you pull in a larger socioeconomic group, you've got all the different types of people from all the community. You've got parents. I remember when Xander went there, he's coming home going, "Mom, what's this mean?" I'm like, "Where did you hear that?" Or, "Mom, did you know this show? Why do you know that?" These kids are exposed to more. We have our bubble. We're all super active parents. For the most part, we know what our kids are watching and doing, right? And we monitor it and we say, no, that's not appropriate. And then you've got all the kids whose parents aren't doing that. Maybe they're both working full time and they don't have the luxury of spending the kind of time that we are able to spend with our kids, so they don't have that.
Right.
And that's hard because then you've got those kids bringing that information in.
Right.
And whether it be vaping or whatever else, it's kind of the terrain.
So in the 8th grade, what were you guys doing? Any bad behaviors from you guys in the 8th grade?
The kids aren't going to hear this, are they?
No.
Not unless Margaret plays it for them going to school.
Right.
Right?
Benny wanted to listen, and I thought, maybe I should ask.
Except
he
for
was
the
really
very
excited. He really wanted to know all about what was going on
That's
today.
cool. The middle of it is probably a little more appropriate than the beginning because
Yeah.
Sandy's talking about the microphone as
right
other things,
genitalia.
Yeah.
So.
Tracy.
Just once.
I know. It's a repeat theme. It is kind of phallic.
Come on, it's in your face.
A little bit phallic. Bad behavior, 8th grade?
Yeah.
Yeah? What was your bad behavior?
Well, I'm not going to say, but,
Why?
I went to a Catholic school.
But do you think that bad behavior would be repeated in your kids?
No. My kids are way, way cleaner than I was.
I wonder if your mom said that.
My mom?
If your mom
said
thought,
that about you.
Your mom was so busy. She had so many kids. And
my mom had no idea what I was doing.
No, my mom, there's too many kids. And
my
she
mom
has to
was
work.
not speaking to me at the time. So she didn't know what I was doing either. 8th grade, I was a good kid, though. My stuff started in 9th grade. When I got to high school, I got in trouble. I started drinking in 9th grade.
Yeah.
Like drinking. So.
Because your mom wasn't talking to you.
That was part of it. Yeah. My dad was working, till 10 o'clock at night. 6 days a week.
Not a lot of supervision going on there.
Pretty much none. And, shifting from my mom's house to my dad's house, I thought it was going to be like it was when I went home on the weekends. When I go home every other weekend, I was the complete focus. But when you live with the parent every day, that's not possible. But nobody really tells you that when you're, 13, 14 years old, and you think it's going to be all about me when I get to my dad's house, and all of a sudden I'm doing laundry, I'm cooking meals, it's
living
just
life,
me and him.
Yeah.
And
were you like, what the hell? I didn't sign up for this.
Oh no, I was so grateful to be there and not in my mother's house. I was so grateful to be where I was. But in hindsight, I look back and go, that transition was not parented pretty much at all, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. So I just ran amok. I mean, I started drinking. I did. I ran amok. I ran amok. I was amok.
You can listen to more episodes of Wife the Party on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. Past episodes are also posted on YouTube. Or you can visit www.wifeotp.com. That's WIFEOTP.com. And you can reach out to Leon Greiser on Twitter at LEEANNWOTP. I'd also like to point out the delightful live reads Leanne and Bert do for Bertcast's various sponsors. As a fan of advertising, I'm quite partial to their Blue Apron reads. I've heard quite a few different soundcasters do variations on takes on Blue Apron's talking points over the years. Burcast is in my top 5, right next to Paul Shears reads on the Soundcast he co-hosts called How Did This Get Made, which I will likely be sampling soon. And finally tonight, The Movie Court. How to describe this one? The description on iTunes says, overrated classics, unsung masterpieces, 1 prosecutor, 1 defense attorney, and 1 judge. The podcast that puts the movies you love or hate on trial to decide their fate once and for all. It's a great description. The Soundcast is as though each film was on trial to be sentenced to movie jail, with amusing results. So the prosecutor, or Kruger, is writer Stephen Kruger. The defense is Kyle Bornheimer. And the judge's name is Ryan, although I can't find any more information on if Judge Ryan has more to his name, or if his name is actually Judge Ryan or perhaps Ryan Judge. No clue. Stephen Kruger also co-hosts Nooner, the Soundcast that broadcasts live from Kevin Smith's Smodcast internet radio station very nearly every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Nooner is hosted by Marty Yu of Veronica Mars fame and Cassandra Cardenas of Ladies Lunch Productions. The first episode of The Movie Court is listed on iTunes as having dropped August 11th, 2015. The clip I've selected for you is from the 12th episode, posted November 20th, 2015. The film Inception is put on trial. And according to the episode description on iTunes, Steve claims Inception is a walking nightmare and should be put away for life, while Kyle defends it as a stellar wet dream of a movie in this week's courtroom battle royale.
Okay, well, let me give a brief synopsis of this movie for our listeners who have never seen this movie. I don't know why.
Good luck. I'm going to go to the bathroom during that, so if I'm quiet, I seriously have. I got to go to the bathroom.
According to IMDb, the leading resource on movies in general, the synopsis of this movie: a thief who steals corporate secrets through use of the dream-sharing technology is given the inverse task of planting an idea into the mind of a CEO.
All right, first of all, that log line gave me a boner. Fuck yeah, make that movie and get millions and millions of dollars to do it. Yes. If any filmmaker that turns that down, fuck them. That's exactly what movies should be made of because of the log line that you just said. But go ahead.
This is all right. Sustained. I sustained the prosecution's statement there. Sustained. No, this is a ballsy movie, and this is actually one of the few we never see original content made into a $200 million movie, aside from Christopher Nolan movies. And after what was his last movie, the outer space movie? What was that called?
Inception Stellar. He's making only in movies now.
Okay, so let's begin this. Steve, your first point regarding Inception. Begin.
Well, I'd like to strangely open up with a compliment for this film. And it was the first thing I wrote down, first thing in Discovery, as I was deposing this film, a.k.a. watching it on my computer and fucking in misery. But Leonardo DiCaprio's hair is amazing.
Oh, it's the best special effect in the movie.
DiCaprio hair. It is just thick and wavy, and it just starts nowhere and ends nowhere. It's like a Mobius strip. I'm lost in it. He is, as a panel of 3 follically challenged men, I am in awe of his hair. He is a powerful, powerful man.
It's legit too.
It's good stuff.
It's real. There's no work going on.
That's not augmented like Ben Affleck's or plugs like Sylvester Stallone. It is mesmerizing. I have to give a compliment where a compliment is due.
Sure.
His hair is far more interesting than any secondary character in the movie. I had more of a relationship with his hair than Ellen Page, Looper guy, Mad Max, Indian guy, whatever his fucking name is. His hair was the second billing. It's Leonardo DiCaprio, his hair, Inception. That's what the poster should have been. Other than that, I have nothing else good to say about the movie.
Well, I give you credit for that. That's more than you give. You've given a lot of the movies you're prosecuting,
and it might be enough to exonerate this movie.
His hair was not enough. I needed to see some pubes or something, or his cottontail, or
I can only imagine his pubes are as well coiffed as his head.
Like a golden hour, across the Pacific Ocean as the sun sets. It must just be beautiful, golden.
Well, and like every
auburn.
movie star, I'm sure he has an entire team of people devoted specifically to
tending to his pubes. I would hope and pray that he does.
Also, does the movie not begin on a bullet train? Is it in Japan in the beginning when they've got Ken Watanabe, whatever his name is? I was just on a bullet train. I walked the whole train. There are no compartments where you can lay down and have a little party like they were doing. So just details, guys. But aside from the hair and the bullet train fuck up, I think the movie is filled with so much exposition. The movie explains and over-explains itself. And I really think there's a cool concept in there. I was excited to see the movie. But they're so afraid that the viewer is too dumb to follow along that they hit you over the head over and over. Even to the point where an hour in the movie, they're still explaining the rules of this world. And either be an art film where, hey, catch up, play along. What was that one with Scarlett Johansson where she's an alien under the skin? There's like 5 lines of dialogue. You have to put some shit together in your head. Or make a popcorn movie.
And if you want to hear more episodes of The Movie Court, they are on iTunes and SoundCloud. They haven't dropped an episode since January 1st of 2016, but I'm reluctant to send this show to the Soundcast graveyard just yet. If you want to get their attention, they invite you to, quote, yell at us on Twitter, unquote, where the show's Twitter handle is @TheMovieCourt, TheMovieCourt. Or you can email them at themoviecourt@gmail.com. Steven Kruger is on Twitter @Steven Kruger, StephenKrueger. And Kyle Bornheimer is on Twitter @KyleBornheimer. Before I leave, I'd like to give an acknowledgement to a couple of Soundcasters. First, a shout-out to host Steve Owens of Fascination Street, a Soundcast I featured in the episode of Succotash before this one. Mr. Owens has been very vocal on Twitter about having been featured in Succotash, and I appreciate it a great deal. Cheers, sir, and thank you for passing the Succotash. Iraj Lopez of High Content Podcast has also given Succotash a shout-out on his 29th and a half episode of his Soundcast. It goes a little something like this.
Oh, also, shout out to Tyson Saner from the Succotash podcast and his other podcast, and I'm going to look at it right now, and I should just know it. But Tyler Saner, he's showing me mad love. I show him love. I fuck with all his podcasts and all his shit he does. The Antisocial Show, I don't know why that was so hard for me to remember. But his shit is awesome. You should check it out. He featured me recently in one of his Succotash comedy clip shows where they just show clips of different podcasts from around the area. Not around the area, from around the podcast dungeon. And he took a clip from the I Want to Boil a Gallon of Cum episode. I believe that's episode 26 or 27. And that still holds true. I still want to do that. I still need 128 men to gather up and in one room and all come simultaneously into a bucket. So then we could take said bucket and then boil it and see what comes of it. Perhaps cancer treatments. You don't know. No, I'm not going to eat chips right now on the podcast. What are you thinking, Ed Rush?
Now, High Content Podcast is one of several Soundcasts that I listen to regularly and try to stay current with. This is in addition to what might be several episodes of your Soundcast when I'm combing the internet looking for digital bits of corn, bacon, or lima beans to incorporate into this Succotash that is Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast. If I hadn't been a consistent listener of High Content, there's really no telling how long it may have been until I heard the kind words Mr. Lopez had for us. So if you do give or have given the show a mention in your Soundcast, don't be shy. Contact me, Tyson Saner, on Twitter @REVT23, or executive producer Mark Hershon on Twitter @HERSHCO, and the show @Succotash Show, SUCCOTASHSHOW. That way, I'll be able to properly express my gratitude in as timely a fashion as I can. And that's another in the can, or the pan, as it were. If you haven't been entertained, I do hope the lingering scent of bacon is some small comfort. My thanks to you for listening. I would like to point out that if you get your Soundcast content from YouTube, you can also find episodes of Succotash posted in audio-only video form on executive producer Mark Hershon's channel @MARCHERSHON. Be sure to like and subscribe so that we know you're out there. If you would like to support the show in another way, visit the show's main site at succotash.libsyn.com. Click on the Amazon banner, then shop normally, and a percentage will go to us to help offset server costs. Mostly, however, I'm grateful each and every time you decide to spend time with us here. So I'll bid you farewell for now, and gently remind you to please pass the Succotash.
You've been listening to Succotash Clips, the comedy soundcast with your host, Tyson Saner. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants and... Imagine your company's name right here. Find us on the web at succotashshow.com, on iTunes, on Stitcher Smart Radio, on SoundCloud, on YouTube, on Dunder, on Blitzen, on iHeartRadio, and on a laughable app. You can hear us streaming and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Succotash Show. Email us at TysonSaner@succotashshow.com. Or call into the Succotash hotline at our toll call number, 818-921-7212. That number again is 818-921-7212. You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us by using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/Succotash. Production of Succotash is overseen by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, hosted by Tyson Saner. Our executive producer is Mark Hershon. Our musical director is Scott Carvey. Our booth assistant is Kenny Durges. Until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Haywatt, reminding you to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye.